Welcome back to this Let's Play of The Last Remnant. Last time we did the shortest side quest in the game and, you know, went through a lot of cutscenes. Before we actually do... There are two more side quests we're going to do before we get started with things. And the first one here is sort of simple enough. It just introduces a new mechanic, which is the harvesting mechanic. And this is a system you can sort of abuse to get infinite money, assuming you have infinite patience. I don't, so it's not something I'm going to do anything with just yet. But if you talk to the guy in the bar, he'll talk about Cellopolis, and you can then go to the new city. And they have some weird remnant flying around. It's kind of great, you know. There are two things to do in this area. The first is just talk to this apprentice craftsman. You have to do this before she'll show up in the bar to actually give you the quest. And this weird little thing here, I don't know how to describe it, is your digging tool. And you can also talk to this woman over here who looks like Emma, but is not Emma. And that'll make sense later. There are a couple shops here. I don't know how much money I have after hiring this. I've still got a bunch. I'm going to restock a little bit on my curing supplies so that I can continue to grind up my skill. I will eventually want some resto leaf, which you need to actually use the skill, which resurrects people. But, yeah, 15 even. But since the girl there talked about the tavern, we can now go to Lambero District. There's another mercenary you can recruit here. You can only have 3 people in your party at this point, though, so there's not much point. And she costs more, and she isn't as good as Oaks, though she's pretty simple. If you wanted 2 people who were using herbs rather than an herb and remedy, well, I guess you could, but honestly, I only want so many people using herbs, especially people who I'm not going to care about long-term. And more or less introduces, you know, that's what a harvesting point looks like. And here's our harvesting tool, and exactly why it's volunteering is not really explained, but hey, you know, don't look a gift Mr. Diggs in the mouth. And it takes you back here to Gasland Caves very briefly. And you see on the right-hand side of the screen there's a Diggs count. That's how many times you can use him before leaving the area. In this particular case, since this is for the sort of starting quest, you only do it once because you're just here for one item. But,
come on out! Awesome!
And picks up a bunch of light metal. These various pieces are used to upgrade weapons, either yours or your party members. And, you know, she also gives me some money. So, yeah, we see Mr. Diggs' status. And, essentially, he gains levels as you use him, and I'm sure he will gain levels very, very quickly because I'm going to be using him a lot off-screen. But if you look at party members, let's look at Oaks, for example. You can say, check items. So he needs these 3 items in some quantity. You can look it up on the wiki if you want to know exactly how many. So that he can upgrade his weapon to the next weapon. The other way to upgrade companion weapons is sometimes after moving to the world map, your companions will ask for weapons. And so sometimes you can use that to kind of jump a couple ranks in weapons. It's not real common that it'll actually be useful, but hey. And more or less, Dave wants to talk to us. And you have to do that before you can complete the next sort of main plot thing. We're going to do one more side quest first. Now that I have that 1,000 gold, I'm going to come back here just very briefly and actually buy a new weapon for Rush, just because it's here, and just buy a rapier. I messed up, actually. I could have equipped it right there, and I didn't. And as you can see, it's just better in everything. So I won't buy a lot of equipment. Mostly I'll be upgrading stuff. Money is too short in this game to really buy a whole lot. Honestly, maybe I shouldn't have even bought that. But heading back to Athlon, and then back to the pub to get this other side quest. And it's just the same guy. This next one here, Baulson, is one of actually the best characters in the game, and you recruit him partially because you recruit him right here. He will be a character I'm going to keep keep in my main party for the rest of the game. But you have to do his little side quest first, and he sends you back to the Gasland Caves again. Yeah, I don't know. They are kind of tedious about these areas where it's just like, we've been here. And he wants us to save some guy. He's a mercenary. He's been some aristocrat whose son got into trouble. And while we're here, the reason I did the Mr. Diggs quest first is so that I can use those 5 charges of Mr. Diggs before, sort of while we're here.
Come on out!
There isn't anything real important here.
Okay, later.
But there is some just basic stuff. And there's some randomness to the Mr. Diggs thing where he'll sometimes essentially get more stuff. There's nothing you can do to control it, so it's just sometimes when you hit the button you get more than one thing. And we've used our dig, so... and sometimes it doesn't find anything. It's just a little bit of randomness to it. But every time you go into a dungeon, you should really be using Mr. Diggs to his fullest, just so, you accumulate stuff. And apparently this is the little kid. He is these are the little shrimpy frog guys captured one of the big fish guys. I like this. Which him? And this battle is more or less the same as the one we had with Blockter earlier. And it talks about guest unions. Now, more or less, there are, if you have guest unions, you don't control them. They just sort of do their own thing. And usually that's not a big deal, but we're going to have a bunch more guest unions in a second here. And the ones that we do will have, more just guys I really don't care about. sort of annoying not to be able to control them, but, you know, in the grand scheme of things, you won't actually have that many guest unions over the course of the game. Very often with the guest unions, if the guest dies, you lose, which is sort of annoying, but, you know, that's why you have saves. Not too hard. And we get a bunch of money. Fairly simple little side quest. And he gives you a little extra money. And now that I've completed the quest, he shows up as a potential sort of new hire at the guild. And he is... Baulson's, you know, kind of main appeal is that he hits fairly hard, but he also gets both remedies and herbs, which is very convenient. I think he only starts with herbs, but he gets both. And he's just useful, staple stuff. He's not super important, but looks like he costs more money than I've got, though. But if you look at him, attack 41, defense 12. If you compare that to Oaks here, who has 25 attack and 11 defense, it's obvious that Baulson is just better. Anyway, that's all for this episode.